You are listening to the audio portion of the QB Power Hour webinar series. The QB Power Hour is a free biweekly webinar series for accounting professionals presented by Michelle Long and Dan DeLong, who are very passionate about the industry, QuickBooks, and apps that integrate with QuickBooks. You can find out all the details about the webinar series at qbpowerhour.com. So without further ado, here's Michelle and Dan.
Welcome everybody to another QB Power Hour. We're very glad to have you joining us today. Today's topic is, where does payroll fit into your practice? And we're very glad to have you all joining us. My name is Michelle Long, CPA with an MBA in entrepreneurship and the owner of Long for Success, author of several different books. You can check those out on Amazon, co-host, as you can see, with Dan DeLong of the QB Power Hour. Check us out on that Facebook group and join us out there to continue the discussion. Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Dan DeLong, owner of DanWith. Worked at Intuit for nearly 18 years. Your co-host today. Also doing the co-hosting duties over at School of Bookkeeping with the workshop Wednesdays. Also tech edited the QBO for Dummies series as well. Now, you may notice that Jenn is not here yet. So Nick, you want to explain what's happening here at
Yeah.
EDP?
Good morning, everybody. So obviously I am not Jenn. My name is Nick Panapinto. I'm Senior Director of Channel Marketing at ADP. We're actually broadcasting live here from the Sheraton Parsippany in New Jersey, in beautiful northern New Jersey right now. So we actually are here doing a training for our accountants, sales associates. So our sales representatives for ADP that work with all our amazing accounting partners across the country, training them for 2 days on just ways to be a better partner for you and your practice. So Jenn is actually wrapping up a session downstairs that the prior session ran a few minutes long. So she will be joining us in just a little bit. So until then, you have the pleasure of hearing from me until she arrives.
All right. Well, Jenn should be joining us later, and if not, we have the pleasure of having you for the entire session here. But I'm glad that you could pivot and join us for today. So a little details about the QB Power Hour. It's every other Tuesday. We don't offer CPE credit currently, so that was all of Hector Garcia's duties. He's been a few years since we've had the CPE. But if you want to check the website for upcoming events, upcoming topics, you can always go to qbpowerhour.com/resources for a PDF of all the slides, the recordings, podcasts, as well as other resources there. Now for today, our friends at ADP are doing the sponsorship duties today. We love having them on to talk about all things payroll related because they kind of have a passion about that. So we have a special site for them on the QB Power Hour website that has all of the prior as well as today's webinar replays and resources for handouts and things of that nature on the QB Power Hour website. A little bit of housekeeping. If you do have specific questions about the content that we're talking about here today, please put that in the Q&A. If you have comments like my haircut, I see that few people have enjoyed my haircut. I did have a wedding over the weekend, so did want to look and feel my best. So I did get a few hairs. What is it called? My ears lowered is the the proper term. If you have comments about like those types of things, just please put them in the chat. And I'm glad to see that my setting, because past couple webinars that we've had, the chat was disabled, and I see it's live and kicking today. You can also see the handouts and the webinar archive on our website as well. So our agenda today, we're going to be talking a lot about understanding the payroll options for you and your practice, how to talk a little bit about choosing the right payroll and an HR provider, and then some best practice for switching payroll providers if you do find that there is a need or cause for changing payroll provision. So we'll start off with our first poll, and while we're launching that poll, I'm going to stop sharing and let Nick take over the driving duties here. So, all right. So first question is, what kind of payroll services do you currently offer in your practice? Maybe it's just after the fact. You get a journal entry, you do those types of things. You don't touch payroll. That's a topic near and dear to Michelle's heart.
Hey,
but then maybe
I'll tell you, I used to do payroll. And if payroll was as easy as it is, today with ADP and things like that, I would probably still do payroll because you don't have to do payroll anymore. You can outsource it and let ADP do it because that makes it easy, So it has changed so much since back in the day when I had to walk, through snow this deep and
uphill both ways, right?
Yeah. Payroll is a lot different than it used to be back in the day. So it's definitely a lot easier than it used to be. As a matter of fact, we were talking about this, getting ready for this webinar, that I do have a client that is an S Corp and they have not been doing payroll and they need to be, and I am going to be outsourcing that to somebody like ADP because I don't want to do that. But that's what's so great is that, we've got those options. If you want it as a revenue stream, you can do that. Or if you want to outsource it, you can do that as well. So I love that flexibility.
Yeah. Love it. All right, let me go ahead and close out the poll and share the results. So we do have quite a gamut. There are 4% that are in the Michelle boat, right? The nope. But you can see, there's quite a bit. Now, Nick, what do you think about the cross section that we have here and how that what you see as far as?
It's not that far off from what we see in terms of the trends happening in the profession. In fact, in a couple slides, we'll share some findings from a study that we did recently with Accounting Today. That similar question of how do you offer payroll to your practice? So we really see the full gamut, and it's for that reason that we try to offer and be as flexible in terms of our offerings to accountants, because we know that every practice is different and how accountants want to offer payroll or not offer payroll for that matter. Even if you're not offering it, doesn't mean that you can't turn it into a revenue generating portion for your practice. And that's part of what we'll talk about today, just the different options and what that looks like, based on what you want to do and how you want to run your practice.
So what are we looking at here as far as the graph?
So I wanted to kick things off just to kind of show the just the overall progression of where we see the payroll industry going as a whole. And so we pulled these statistics from one of our partners, Vertical IQ. For those that are familiar, they provide industry profile reports, KPIs on over 500 different industries. It's actually a service that we provide for free in our Accountant Connect solution. So if you're not on Accountant Connect, another reason to go check it out for some of those free resources. But when we pull and look at what's happening in the payroll industry as a whole, we see that the projected growth rate for payroll services is actually expected to outperform other professional services through 2026. At a growth rate, you can see, the growth rate for 2022, and then as it extends into 2026, is actually supposed to outperform other professional services, including accounting and bookkeeping, over the next 5 years. So there's really a tremendous opportunity that's out there, regardless of how you look to provide payroll and those services to your clients. So I want to talk about what is your ideal payroll process look like? Are you in the, are you team Michelle where, nope, nobody, nope, don't talk about the P word with me, versus, roughly half that, do it, full service, soup to nuts. And then, everyone else that is like that hybrid mix of I do some, but I don't do other things. And, and there could be some good reasons for why that is. A lot of it has to do with just having a defined process. And we'll talk about that in a little bit also. But when you boil down, your different options for offering payroll as a service to your clients, you can really do it one of three ways. You can do it in-house. And if you're doing it in-house, there's a few ways that you can slice that. versus the fully outsourced function where, you're outsourcing it to a trusted partner. It could be an accounting firm that does it. It could be a payroll provider like ADP that provides full service, or it could be a hybrid approach where, based on some different factors, maybe it's the size of the client, the number of employees they have, the amount of revenue they're bringing in, the industry they're working in. You might do some of those, call it easier payrolls, but for more complicated payrolls, you might decide to have them work directly with another provider. And so we'll talk about that. There's pros and cons to each approach, right? There's no one size fits all. There's no one right approach. So when we start to dig into the different options versus if you're going to do a payroll in-house, well, you can do that a couple ways, right? You could do that through, the payroll module as part of your accounting software. So some of you might be doing that currently if you're using QuickBooks and using the payroll module for that. A couple different ways to do it. There's the basic payroll where you're still responsible for the money movement and the tax filing, versus the full service like the QuickBooks Online, which would be more of an outsourced type of function, right? And then, hopefully there's nobody on here that's still doing payroll manually in an Excel file or on the back of a napkin and sending them in to the different reporting agencies. I hope. If you are, I'll give you my cell phone. We should chat soon. But, ultimately, there's pros and cons to each. So if you're looking to do a process, a payroll in-house, obviously it's easy to bundle with other services, especially if you're running a type of cash practice and you're bundling the payroll in with the bookkeeping, the monthly write-up work. It makes it easy to do that. It's a great way to stay in constant communication with your clients, building that relationship with them, and then being able to offer additional services as a result of that. I just got a knock at the door. Our Jen, it looks like Jen's here. I don't know if this has ever been done in the webcast world before, where somebody had to leave in the middle of presenting to let somebody into their room. But we're going to do that. I'll be right back.
So actually, I have learned from that. You need to put the do not disturb thing on your door because the housekeeping will come. So,
well, in this case, we actually want an interruption because it is Jen joining us. I did put in the chat. Where you can get the handouts for today, and there's Jen.
Hey,
yay. Hi, Jen. How are you guys?
There you go.
Thanks for having me on with Nick.
Perfect. Good to see you, Jen.
You get the double duties, right?
Yes.
We're making QB Power Hour history right now, I think. Dawn Brolin reporting live from the airplane, and now you've got reporting live tag team from the club level at the Sheraton Parsippany.
Perfect.
So let me finish the thought here, and then I'll hand it off to Jen to add any additional color. So, if you're doing payroll in-house, it's a great way to stay in constant communication with the client, could lead to additional service offerings, right? And there's other pros, but highlighting some of the high-level things here, and then you get into some of the negatives, right? That a lot of times if you're doing a payroll in-house, you need dedicated staff to oversee that payroll function, which means hiring an additional head or having somebody fill that as more of a full-time role within the practice. You have the additional liability, of course, if a mistake is made with the filing of the taxes. Clients need payroll. Payroll never sleeps, which means that it's harder to kind of step away from it. Which means that client has an emergency, has an issue. You're on vacation. It's you or somebody in your practice that is going to have to take that call and handle those things when they happen. And then, of course, ensuring that the software is fully compliant, with all the different changing rules, regulations, federal, state, local level. There's a lot to keep in mind. Shifting gears to, as an outsourced payroll function, now you're starting to reduce the liability, for your practice, for your clients. It becomes easier to access other solutions that integrate in with payroll so that you can create a streamlined business process that includes HR services. So, if your clients are looking to add or maintain an employee handbook, job descriptions, hiring tools, time tracking, and then obviously health benefits, all those things can integrate in one seamless solution. Or if you're doing payroll in-house, it might be a little harder to do that. Outsourcing, it makes it a little bit easier to set up, to standardize the process across the board. But then the negatives, for those that are, control freaks like myself, you do lose some of that control to an extent when you're outsourcing it versus doing everything yourself. It can, unless you have the right technology, be more difficult to access the client data. That's where it becomes important to evaluate, if you are outsourcing, choosing the right provider that gives you easy access to those things, the client data, even if you're not doing the payroll yourself. And then ultimately it can create additional inefficiencies for the firm, if the payroll is outsourced to multiple providers. We see this a ton where, for firms that don't necessarily have a defined process for payroll, or it kind of becomes an afterthought, and you're telling the clients, well, hey, just go find a payroll service. And then all of a sudden you have, in your practice, you might have 10 clients that are using ADP, 10 using QuickBooks Payroll, 5 using Paychex or another provider. And then all of a sudden, you're scrambling all over the place to access their information because it lives in all these different areas. So, the opportunity to streamline everything and have it in one central location becomes critical there. And then, of course, there's the hybrid approach, where you're really folding both things in. It's a little bit of in-house and a little bit of outsourced payroll, which is very, very popular. And then you get the benefits of you get all the benefits, right, of the outsourcing and keeping it in-house. You get the flexibility in your practice, but it can also become a little more difficult to standardize, and can become confusing if you have multiple processes with different partners, payroll data living in multiple areas and all that good stuff. So this is where we tie in, thinking about the question in the beginning of, well, how are you doing payroll in your practice today? So when we did a study with Accounting Today recently, we asked the same question of, where are the buckets in terms of who's doing their payroll in-house versus outsourced versus hybrid? And what we found was that, the majority are still doing their payroll in-house in some capacity. Not as many are doing fully outsourced, but, also depending on how you define what an outsourced payroll is. But then a decent chunk, almost 1 in 3, are doing it in some type of hybrid approach, which is very popular. So with that, Jen, do you want to take it from here?
That perfectly, Nick. You're on a roll here. But definitely, I think, one thing to take into consideration is really what your process looks like today. So regardless of which direction you go, whether you're processing in-house, you refer out to multiple partners, or you do kind of a hybrid, a mix of both, what does that look like? And is it truly standardized? So from verifying employee data, collecting W-4 information, benefits deductions, from getting the hours from clients. I've heard that they get hours in a multitude of ways. It could be an email, it could be a text, it could be a phone call. Like, what does that look like? And is it the most efficient? The software that you use to pay. And then when it comes to actual pay date, is direct deposit being offered? Are they live checks? Are you printing them there on site? And then how are the employees actually getting those live checks? Are the business owners coming in to pick them up? Are they being mailed out? And then filing taxes is, of course, the last piece of it. So there's so many steps in the actual process. And it's really important to define, like, what does that look like to you? And do you have that defined process? Does everybody in your firm follow that process? Who doesn't love Michael Scott, right? And if there isn't a process, if you're kind of scratching your head thinking, I don't know if everybody in my firm would agree or would summarize the exact process that we think we should be doing payroll. So kind of a rhetorical question there. I don't know if you guys have anything to add, Dan or Carrie.
Well, I was thinking that the thing that I've seen about payroll, when you don't have something entered in right, like if it's not set up properly, a lot of that doesn't bubble up to the surface until it's filing time, right? And now I have to crunch it in at the end of the year, which is typically there's a holiday thrown in there, like every year, and or it's after the fact, and then you have to do amendments and things like that, or now the employees got multiple payroll W-2s or something like that, where you have those types of things. So if you don't set it up properly, or have those defined processes, that can certainly come to the surface. Michelle, you would agree?
Oh yeah, and then there's always something that's out of the ordinary that causes some troubles. Right. Somebody's going to have a bonus, or somebody lost a paycheck and then you have to reissue a paycheck, or you have to make a correction to a paycheck, or there's always something that's out of the ordinary that causes a hiccup in the process, that causes more problems. And so yeah.
And when you do have a good defined process, it's very streamlined, right? Like it's just checking all the boxes, so to speak, when you're doing these things. Jen, do you find that that's the case with EC?
Absolutely. Yes. See that all the time for sure. And when it comes to, activating change in your process, and of course, in my role, I started 19 years ago and was working with small businesses directly for 3 in leadership for the rest of my time and in the sales operations role. But, firms that we speak to, they really don't have a defined process. So when you sit down and you talk through what that looks like, there are some areas that they can definitely fix and perfect so that they become more efficient, which is super important. And obviously they service their clients to the level they want to, and they're doing the work that they truly enjoy doing and that they're passionate doing. So, when it comes to activating change, some things to take into consideration is the current method aligning with your future plan? So what do you love doing at your firm, or what do you want to do more of, and what's holding you back? Is it payroll? Is that one of them? Is it a problem client? And what can you do if you want to continue offering the service? Is there a way to streamline the process to make it easier for you and maybe take that liability off your plate? What are some of the service offerings that you offer that differentiate you from other firms out there? So are there other services that you guys can integrate in to separate yourself, in addition to what you're already offering today? And I know the buzz, right, is the advisory services. And then are you advising clients on the new ways people want to be paid and the evolving work environment employees are looking for? And can your service offering support these demands? So I'm sure you guys have seen this, Dan and Carrie, but even for us and our sales associates and even our service team, we have them come in 3 days a week, but they've got 2 days that they can work from home. And I think that's really become the norm with a lot of companies out there is offering that flexibility, especially after COVID and the working from home, situation that we were in for 2 years, if you will. So do you guys see these, or are these fair questions to take into consideration?
Absolutely. And somebody put that in the chat, that they love doing payroll, which, like you were saying, doing what you like to do and stuff. And then somebody also mentioned that, advising them on the benefits and stuff. And these small businesses, as you mentioned, they have to start offering benefits and things like that, to get these employees and keep these employees. It's not enough anymore simply to, pay them well. You have to offer benefits and things to get and keep employees. It's harder than ever, and so, being able to be able to do that stuff is more important than ever. And so, being able to offer payroll as well as, going above and beyond some of that stuff is really important right now. It's critical, so I think that's real important. So I think this is great, and that's where I think ADP is well positioned to be able to help us help our clients and differentiate our practice that we can help them with this type of stuff.
Absolutely. You teed me up perfectly, Carrie.
Michelle, it's Michelle.
Oh my gosh, Michelle. I'm thinking Carrie and Dan.
You got the wrong partnership.
Yeah, it's okay.
Hey, I know. At least Carrie's your partner, Dan. I'm all over the place running around the hotel today, but
it's okay.
No, Michelle, when it comes to the payroll and HR technology checklist, you don't want to just partner with anybody. And I think, again, it's important that it's a trusted brand. More important now than ever is, your tech stack and that you're in the cloud and you've got a modern user interface and easy access really in one place. I know we all want single sign-on. I wish I had that for many of the applications that I use today personally. And obviously digitized client onboarding is really helpful. Mobile friendly, everybody's on their phone. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm spending too much time because I keep getting that notification on Sunday that my mobile usage and my screen time has gone up. I should probably part ways with my phone a little bit longer throughout the week, but we're all on our mobile phone, including our business owners, their employees. So that's a big piece of it. Flexible partner models for accountants. So, we're very aware that, your strategy as a firm owner is going to change throughout the years. And if payroll is a part of your strategy today, that may change down the road or vice versa. So having a partner that can change with you, as your strategy changes is big. Pricing, of course, shouldn't be the only factor, but we know it plays a role and it must be competitive there. And then one other piece is dedicated support. So I think you could have a really great product, but if you don't have the support, the service to back it up, your product isn't going to go anywhere, right? It's not really that useful. So that's a big piece of it. And service is near and dear to my heart. And then, as you mentioned, Michelle, the benefits are big right now. So if you are offering or you're working with a company, are you able to integrate workers' comp in there, business insurance, health and benefits, retirement, right? And especially the hiring and talent piece, like that's really big for a lot of these business owners today, really is how do they attract and retain their top talent? So they don't have the people that are excited to be there. Once again, they can't run their business efficiently. So a couple of things to take into consideration there.
Now, Jen, do you find that that ADP in general is you know, I don't want to say struggling, but I mean it's still like when people think ADP, they think, oh, I have to have, you know, hundreds of employees or things like that, or is it still or is it not that way now? What would you say?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Let the marketing person.
I was going to say, Nick is just popping up a bit here.
You know, good. Nick's here for us.
So the short answer is it does still come up, Dan. You know, it comes up in this community once in a while where, you know, it might be, you know, you might be in practice and, you know, maybe you have, you know, looked at ADP, you know, especially if you've been in business for a long time and maybe it's been, you know, 15, 20 years since the last time you looked at us. You know, maybe you have experience working at a bigger firm at one point in your career and, you know, working with larger clients, and we're just used to, you know, seeing ADP, you know, for those larger types of clients. But the reality is that, you know, we have over 800,000 small business clients at ADP, and that number continues to grow every year. Right? You've probably heard the stat, you know, ADP pays 1 in 6 people in the US in the public sector. The majority of those, you know, are small business owners. I mean, that is our bread and butter, and it continues to be. So predominantly working with employees, and we define small business as any company with under 50 employees. But the reality is that the far majority of them have under 10 employees in their business. I mean, that is by far the biggest makeup of our client base at ADP. So, you know, we have solutions. You know, if you haven't familiar with us, you know, our Run Powered by ADP solution is for small businesses. Our Accountant Connect solution is designed by accountants for accountants to keep you in touch with your client information. So, yeah, I mean, it does come up, Dan, from time to time, but not that often anymore, thankfully.
Right. So that means that you're doing your job there, right?
That's right. Awesome. So the difference. Yeah. Yeah,
no, I was going to say, Priscilla in the chat noted that ADP took on the nonprofit client that she had with 2 employees. So it's not just for the Coca-Colas of the world.
That's right. And I think, Michelle, you mentioned it, I think right before or at the beginning of the webinar, you know, that you recently took on an S-Corp client. That needs to draw a salary before the end of the year. So we see and do a ton of those officer-only single shareholder S-Corp payrolls at the end of the year. So, you know, if you have clients that need to draw a salary before the end of the year, pay themselves, you know, we have very inexpensive solutions for that also. You know, single shareholder S-Corp, you know, set them up on a set it and forget it. It can be a monthly, a quarterly, or even we do one-time annual payrolls as well. So that is something that we do a lot of this time of year.
Yes. And something else I think Jen's going to mention in a little bit is something that you all have a great resource. You know, when that S-Corp says, well, what's reasonable compensation? You know, Jen's got that great resource in a little bit to help see, you know, what is reasonable compensation, where you can look some of that information up. So right. I'll let her get to that though.
A little teaser there. And as far as what differentiates us, you know, we talked about the flexible partner models. So as the firm's strategy changes, we can too. So again, what fits today may not fit tomorrow. The most complete set of solutions from hiring to retiring and everything in between. Quick and easy insights, Michelle, which is what you alluded to, and then the expert support piece, which again, I think is so critically important that you have support. You've got somebody that you can call and reach out to help get questions answered and really resolve any kind of client issues that are lingering. So with the most flexible partner models, the most common way to work with us is really to refer clients. So you can straight refer them over to whoever you're partnered with, and you've got a dedicated ADP rep there to really handhold and give your client white glove service. We do have a revenue share program as well. So we find a lot of times that our firms, whether they refer it off to us or not, no matter what, the client calls them versus ADP or whoever they're working with, and the firm has to get involved, either in uploading a notice or contacting ADP directly to just kind of link the two together. And it's time spent, it's billable hours. So with the revenue share program, we're able to compensate firms for spending time on payroll where they could be doing something else, right, and generating more revenue. So that's another big program. Offering payroll processing. So we've got an amazing solution where you can tap into and really leverage ADP's technology and use it to process your client's payroll. So the beauty is you're still the face for your clients, but you're processing payroll using our solution, our technology, that helps you to be more efficient and offloads the liability. And then finally, if you are processing payroll, you want to sell it today, fantastic. We have a team in place to provide a complimentary valuation, and also a team in place if it is the right time to sell, whether it be retirement or maybe you're just looking to do something else, maybe offer a different line of service. And payroll just isn't a huge revenue generator for you. We would love to buy that payroll client base from you and allow you to focus on something different. So we've got all these programs in place, depending on where you're at in the life cycle. So a little bit deeper into the revenue share. This one, again, like I said, you can earn up to 75% revenue share for each client that you refer over to ADP, which is pretty lucrative. There's ongoing residuals as well, as long as those clients are retained. And then a newer program that we rolled out really is a thank you. The best way to grow your business is by word of mouth and through warm intros. So we do offer a one-time $500 thank you to our accountants that introduce us to another firm that wants to partner or work with ADP. And then finally, you can track referrals, incoming payments. We've got a system that you can use to have visibility to everything that we're doing with the clientele that we bring over, which is pretty exciting. So any comments, any questions from the group here? I'll pause for a minute.
Elaine asked a question, and I would be curious. Does ADP have an after the fact? I mean, it's a QuickBooks terminology, for the enhanced payroll for accountants. And I'm not sure how that would work. Like if it's another, and maybe Elaine can embellish what she's the kind of question that she's asking. But typically, once payroll's run somewhere else and they need to enter the payroll activity inside of QuickBooks, they have
very familiar
an after the fact. Yeah.
So we do offer an after the fact solution on our run for partners, which Jen mentioned. If you're looking to offer payroll processing, you can use our run powered by ADP solution. We as a wholesale partner of ADP and use that as your engine to process payrolls. So we do offer an after the fact solution. I'll be honest though, we don't typically see a lot of clients leveraging that. And I think the reason for that is, when you look at, the reason for doing the payrolls after the fact, it usually boils down to one of two things from our experience, that it's, one, it's, the client has just, the cash flow is so poor that, that's the only thing that'll work for them. But the other and much more common is that it's cultural. The clients are just so used to doing it that way that they just don't know of any other way to do it. And that could be within your practice as well. So there are a number of benefits, obviously, to going, full service and having the payroll taxes, taken out with every paycheck instead of doing it after the fact. Part of the benefits, pros, cons that we talked about earlier. And Jen, I don't know if there's anything you add to that.
That's 100% it. I would say it's typically cultural. That's the way they've been doing payroll, and we work with firms in so many different ways. And whether it be our wholesale solution where they use us and process payroll through us, or maybe it's they sell their payroll base, they're always worried about the clients and what they're going to think when we start taking out taxes per payroll. And truthfully, the clients typically love the technology. So there's a lot of features within our run solution that they really like. And once they start processing, they see it's actually more helpful because the taxes come out in smaller increments. So it's just a shift in what they're doing, and it's change. But once they start using us, again, it's typically the technology that they really love. And the tax piece coming out per payroll is just an after the fact at that point, afterthought.
But yeah, good question. We do. I mean, we're running to it, a decent amount, especially, for folks using QuickBooks, coming over to ADP. But usually, as we talked about it before, right? Like as you start to drill into like the process, right? And, how defined is your process around payroll, and is there an opportunity to shift things, for the better in a lot of cases, to start doing it as a full service, with the money movement of the taxes in real time as opposed to after the fact, because of all that additional benefits that you realize as a result of that.
And Donna had a question, and I know a lot of CPAs are like this. Instead of getting maybe the rev share, could the discount be passed to the clients?
Absolutely. It absolutely can. It's interesting. That's a great question. We've actually seen firms accept the revenue share and then give it back to the client in the form of a credit or a free month, which is interesting. We also have firms that if they are involved in nonprofits, they'll take the revenue and donate it to whatever nonprofit that they're passionate about, or if they're on the board. So there's a multitude of different ways that they can invest it, client appreciation events. So it's interesting, really the revenue can be used to invest back in the firm. Or once again, we do have promotions always for our partners that we work with, and we'll extend that to the client. And usually months free, discounts, whatever it may be at the time. But great question. Yeah, and this is going a little bit deeper into our wholesale platform, where again, if you're looking to streamline your process, you're doing payroll today. What I think is great is that you've got a point person within ADP. So you've got the service team that's there to answer any questions, but you've also got a dedicated sales contact that's there to help you, especially if you're onboarding for the first time, and you've got somebody local. It's nice. They're an extension of your firm. So they can go out with you guys on site, help convert the clients over, because I know implementation is always that biggest hurdle to get through, but you've got a live person that can either be virtual or out on site to assist with that. And again, you're outsourcing the tax liability. So truly, the best part of it is you're still the face for your clients. They still reach out to you. They still call you. You still do the payroll input, or you could have them log in for those tech savvy clients that want to have a little bit more control over entering hours. But you ultimately will be approving payroll, processing it, and then you're done. So direct deposits initiated by ADP. We can even print and deliver checks, which is fantastic. And there's no tax filing. So we take all the tax filing off your plate. No W-2s at year end. But once again, you're still their firm that's processing payroll. So we see a lot of firms, gravitate to this solution that want to continue offering payroll and growing the business, because it allows you to be able to do that efficiently. And then, of course, not even to mention, we talked about some of the integrated benefits, but, you can integrate workers' comp, retirement, timekeeping. Like there's a multitude of products that you can then integrate in and offer to your clients through your payroll solution, which of course it's just using ADP kind of on the back end of things, but you being able to offer these other solutions that they need and want are also a huge competitive advantage to you.
Right. And just
and I think
after the fact conversation too is, again, one of the benefits of, running your payroll, through, a full service is that it allows you to open up to some of those ancillary services that integrate right in with the payroll, with your workers' compensation and being able to take advantage of pay by pay, time tracking, retirement. It's much harder to do that with an after the fact solution, versus streamlining everything, integrated, all the different functions together, working, with the money movement that's happening in real time for your clients.
And I think there's so much more to payroll than just running the paychecks. As you mentioned, the other services like benefits and retirement, workers' compensation, those types of things. And the more that you have those kind of all in one solution, you're going to have a better experience, from the end user's experience rather than my 401k is over here and my workers' comp is over here, and they're all supposed to work together. But if you have something in all in one, then you have just one place to go, right?
Right, exactly it, Dan. All right, I'm gonna speed through these next couple of slides here because we want to get through into Accountant Connect to show you guys some of the tools, features there. I know you guys saw some of those at Happy Hour Camp and are using them in your own practices, especially the comp benchmarking. So I want to make sure we give enough time for that. So just to wrap up our partner program options, so There are, some of you might already have a full service, end-to-end payroll solution that you're offering. You might have several clients that you do payroll for already. For some practitioners, it's not always in the cards to continue to do that, for a number of reasons. Maybe you're looking to, focus on other areas of your practice to grow for other advisory type of services. Maybe you're winding down and looking to, to sell your practice or exit the payroll business entirely. So, whatever the option is, we do have a full service program where we will actually give you a look at doing a free valuation on how much your payroll client base is worth, so that you can make a decision and ultimately move those clients over to ADP. So, they're still your clients. We're just taking over the payroll responsibilities for them. Everything is price neutral. So whatever you're charging your clients for those payroll services, we keep it even with ADP. And then transitioning them over, we have a robust turnkey team that helps with that. Moving them over all together so that we can take over all the money movement, filing of the taxes as one seamless experience. We do quite a few of these every year. It's a very popular program for a number of reasons. So if you're offering full service payroll and you're looking at, even you're curious, like, well, what is the market value on those payrolls? Like, we can help with that. A lot of different solutions, right? So we talked about what makes ADP different earlier. So flexible partner programs, most complete set of solutions. So we touched on a lot of this already, but I think a lot of you may not realize, all the different things that we offer beyond just payroll. So the HR services that we offer, health and benefits, workers' comp. Tax credits are really popular right now. If you have clients in certain industries that might be eligible for our research and development R&D tax credit, there's some really amazing opportunities and programs available through the government right now that they could qualify for some nice size tax credits. For clients that are looking for a fully outsourced solution that takes care of their payroll, their HR, their benefits, their workers' comp, a professional employer organization, a PEO, some of you might be familiar with, for the right client is another amazing fit and something that we do quite a bit of. HR solutions. So, there's a lot of really great self-service solutions that we offer that are included in our run powered by ADP solution. Live HR help desk. So you can actually speak to a live certified person to answer questions that you or your clients might be getting in terms of how to better manage their folks. Putting together an employee handbook, hiring through ZipRecruiter, and a number of other really, really great things that are that we offer there as well. And then, beyond the solutions that ADP provides, we integrate, I always joke, this slide is crazy busy for a reason, just to make the point that, most of you are probably familiar with the Intuit marketplace, the ADP marketplace. We have hundreds and hundreds of your favorite business apps that integrate directly in with our solutions and make it completely turnkey. Everything from production and collaboration tools like Slack to timekeeping attendance like QuickBooks Time, SharkClock, Homebase, just to name a couple. But there's a lot of that we do in order to integrate and create that seamless tech stack, working together for the tools that you are recommending to your clients. So let's talk about Accountant Connect. Jen, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
For sure. Yeah. So the best part again is Accountant Connect, because it truly is the foundation for any of and all of our partner programs. So Nick, before I hit a button here, we'll get it pulled up and we'll just jump quickly into the demo so we can give you all a visual of what it looks like. But there are some very powerful tools in there that you all can leverage. Really, it's twofold. There are tools in there to help with efficiency within the firm and just to help you be more productive in servicing your clients. And then there are tools that will help you be a better advisor or stronger advisor and just make your job a little bit easier when it comes to pulling data. So when you get logged into Account Connect, and I will say it's free, it was developed by accountants for accountants, and it's constantly being updated on a quarterly basis. And we take feedback from the account community to make sure it's what you guys want to see. But starting when you log in, you've got your dashboard of all of your clients there. And when it comes to efficiency tools, we hear from our firms constantly that you're typically fielding questions, right? whether it be tax reports, forms, or maybe you need to pull some type of reporting, submit a notice. So it's a very popular place to spend time is in this section here. And we'll click on tax forms. As you guys can see, there's a number of reports there. There's general ledger interface, which is very important. So I know if they're utilizing QuickBooks, which I'm sure most of your clients are, if not all of them, then we do have a general ledger team and general ledger interface that's very easy to set up per client. And it will automatically then download into your client's GL for you after initiating that within Account Connect. So very commonly used and popular feature. You can process payroll through here as well. So we've got some firms that, don't want to be billed per se for payroll, but if there is maybe a bonus payroll that needs to be run at the end of the year, or maybe it's that last payroll of the year for an S Corp and the client isn't fully understanding the breakdown to relay to the payroll company, you have the autonomy with the client's authorization to log into Account Connect and process payroll on behalf of the client. So some nice features there to help them and to ensure you're not having to deal with amendments or reprinting of W-2s because you can take really control of that and help with clients and what they're doing there. So I know we're running through this pretty quickly because we're at time, but any questions at all just about the basics, pulling reports?
No, I just think the dashboard itself is great. I think for folks that are doing these sorts of things on a regular basis, because I mean just even the resources that you have on the left side, just to keep up with all the things that are changing in the payroll world. It's great to have it in all in one place.
Absolutely, it is. And there's also our Service Connect in here. So of course, cybersecurity is important. Thank you, Nick. I'm going to have maybe I'll talk, Nick can steer. But this is actually a newer feature. And I don't know about you all, but the emails back and forth, I feel like I drown in emails, and it's definitely not the most secure way to even send confidential information. So this feature will allow you to upload request notices within the Account Connect portal, so it's secure, and you can see where we're at in the process. And we will respond back to you in 24 to 48 hours. But if it's a notice, it might take a little bit longer to research or for a tax team to research. But you can see where we're at. And it really truly eliminates the whole email back and forth, or you emailing your sales associate who then has to reach out to the service team. You've got control and it can be done quickly and efficiently. So this is amazing, and this will make everybody's life a lot easier. So I wanted to take a second to touch on that. You're able to connect clients as well through here very easily as well by hitting Connect Client. If you wanted to onboard clients through this program, you could do that in addition. So if you've got the payroll information and that's a part of a service that you offer is onboarding and helping them get their ID numbers, and you want to have the autonomy of setting them up with an ADP, you have the opportunity to do that. The analysis tools piece, so kind of switching gears and switching our thought process. So this is something that Michelle had mentioned earlier. For our mutual clients, this feature here, Client Insights, will give you an overview or high-level overview of all of your clients and the solutions that they are using through ADP. So at the bottom here, you can see the client name, and it'll let you know if they're using payroll, HR, timekeeping, workers' comp, group health and benefits, or in retirement services. We have a lot of firms that love working with us, and they'll tell their clients, hey, you need to get workers' comp set up, you need a retirement plan. And this is a nice benchmark for them to be able to proactively look to see, okay, who still needs to get this set up before the end of the year, or if there's a certain deadline, obviously, that they're looking to adhere to. So that's a really great benefit to help firms be proactive. The other piece too is I'm going to have you scroll it for me, Nick, if you don't mind. The other thing is you can look to see which payroll products are set up on new jurisdictions that clients have entered into to make sure they're in compliance. A lot of times they don't realize all the regulations that come along with different jurisdictions, different states. And then you can also look to see the employee count as it goes up or down. And maybe it's a client that has dropped significantly in employee count. You notice that when you log into Account Connect, you can proactively reach out to advise and find out what's happening within the business to help, support them and get them back on track.
The one thing I'll just add to that, just with the new jurisdiction piece, is, that's been such a hot topic right now that we're seeing more and more of is, it's a lot easier for business owners to have remote workers. And so they're hiring in a lot of cases, it's industry specific, obviously. If you're a pizza place, you're not going to hire somebody in a different state. or maybe you will. I don't know. Maybe some futuristic pizza establishment or something. I don't know.
They do Chicago deep dish and
yeah, we're going to keep it simple here. But so business owners might be hiring outside of their state, and so which is great. But there's tax implications as a result of that, and so this is one way to just be in the loop with your clients, that as soon as they hire somebody in a new jurisdiction, you're going to get a notification that's going to get pushed to you so that you can have those conversations in terms of, the additional reporting, tax requirements, and hey, there could be additional opportunities as a result because maybe there's a tax credit eligibility there that they might be able to claim. So, but ultimately it's just, it's a basis for a conversation with your clients, and just a matter of just having that information accessible so that you can have that talk with them.
Exactly. And you had talked about tools. Compensation benchmarking is a big one, especially now with our S Corps and really any client that is struggling to attract and retain talent. So with ADP paying 1 in 6 Americans, we've got a lot of data, and we've aggregated that data, and we've got a tool called Data Cloud, where we're really tracking the compensation and benchmarking, if you will, for over 900 organizations and 30 million records or 30 million employees. And we give that to our accountants for free. So you're able to leverage this tool. And essentially what it is it allows you to choose a specific industry and job type within that industry. And you can even drill down for purposes of the demo. We're not going to go deep into this, but you can register for Account Connect and explore it on your own as well for your own firm. If you're hiring maybe out of state or you're traveling like Dan is on the road all the time, but you're able to benchmark specific jobs in specific regions to see if it's an S Corp, what's a reasonable salary or reasonable compensation. And if it's a client that's maybe entering into a new market, you can be proactive and look to see what other companies in that industry, if it's a dental practice, what they're paying, right, in Charleston, South Carolina, for the same job type that they're looking to hire for. So it just gives them a good idea of, hey, are they paying a reasonable wage with benefits included? Or maybe it's on the lower end, and that's why they're struggling to find talent and hire. So, it can be used in a couple of different ways.
Michelle, just to bring up the use case that you mentioned earlier, and we're dealing with it right now. So, if you have S Corp single shareholder clients that need to draw a salary before the end of the year, they need to take, they don't need to take a salary, they need to take something that is deemed fair and reasonable compensation. And so the comp benchmarking tool, this is a really popular use case towards the end of the year, because you as their advisor can pop in here and look up the industry where they're located geographically, right? So you can see the state level versus the national level, the type of industry that they're in, and the job title, which, in most cases, probably owner, president, whatever. But being able to pop up, well, what is the average compensation, for your industry in your state for the type of work you're doing? And then, hey, you've got your fair and reasonable compensation so that you know what to draw as a salary and not raise any potential red flags with the IRS.
Yeah, this is a great resource. And we have a link where they can get Accountant Connect, right? Isn't there a link in the slides?
Yep. There is.
Okay.
And, we make it nice and easy. It's adp.com/Accountant Connect. Again, this is a free tool. Create your free account. And then once you're in there, you can easily connect to your clients already using ADP and then take advantage of some of these tools. If you don't have any clients already using ADP, we do give you access to the comp benchmarking tool for free for 90 days. And then after that, we do ask that you have at least 5 clients connected to ADP to be able to continue to use the tool.
Good question there. And we've got more.
So covered a lot of this with Accountant Connect, all the different tools there. So just closing out, we talk about support a lot because it is something that we hear constantly in the accounting space with a number of other providers out there. We always hear people complaining about the level of support. Hold times are crazy. Companies still aren't fully staffed as a result of COVID. I'm calling it to a generic number. I don't have any kind of dedicated support of any kind. One of the areas where we really pride ourselves is the expert support and the amount that we invest in the accounting community, because that is ultimately where we work a lot with. Accountants are our top partner at ADP. They actually account for more than 60% of the new small business clients that we bring in and onboard to ADP every year. And so, the least we could do is to give back and ultimately build that dedicated support model, which is how we differentiate from some of the other providers that are out there. So dedicated accountant help desk, so if you have questions, you actually call into a team that's designed to only speak with accounting professionals, right? You have access to this. Our ADP small business clients have another dedicated team that they work with, but you're speaking to a lot of times former accountants that are working on this team and that are trained exclusively to work with bookkeepers, CPAs, enrolled agents, tax professionals like yourselves. Jen mentioned Service Connect, easy way just to get a lot of that self-service functionality, quick questions answered without having to call in. You can do that right in Accountant Connect. Setting up the GL integration, sync and map your GL with QuickBooks, whether it's desktop or online, we integrate with both. Your ADP run clients do get 24/7 support. Yes, 24/7 support means they can call in anytime. If you have clients that work on non-traditional hours, if you have restaurant clients, and you have an issue at, after hours, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, like you will be able to speak to a live person that can actually help you. And then the last but not least, you get a physical live ADP dedicated sales associate that is assigned to your practice and works with you and is an extension of your practice. They can come out on site to visit you in your practice. When you have clients that you are looking to onboard to ADP, they're going through your dedicated ADP representative. So you're not just telling them to just, go to, X, I don't want to name names, but, go into other, use your imagination of other payroll providers where you're just going to a website or calling into a general number. You're referring your clients to somebody that and you've built a relationship with. So if you don't have a dedicated ADP sales associate already working with your practice, we ask that you visit adp.com/accountant. And we'll obviously be in touch with you after the webinar. We can help pair you with that local person. So wrap it up here. So, we have another poll question, right, Dan?
Yeah, let's skip this because I think we're coming in for a landing. And I do want to make sure that I mentioned that it's not just dedicated, meaning that they're assigned to you. I mean, they are actually a pretty dedicated person. I mean, our dedicated rep, will provide her particular cell phone number, right? I mean, it's just, you can call or text her at any time, and she'll be glad to, answer. Of course, she's not sleeping, but I mean, she has actually, done that. And, we wanted to talk a little bit about, our experience. And I think that's why Jen mentioned Carrie, because she actually is in the slides here. CBG, Complete Business Group, is a QuickBooks solution provider, and Carrie was very adamant about using. If she's not going to recommend a service if she's never used it, and she used very long time, other payroll service provider that she recommended, and so getting her to the point of being comfortable enough to switch, was part of the challenge, right? I mean, it's getting to that point. But once she crossed that threshold and made that leap of faith in ADP, she was super happy about the whole the way it transpired, right? The employee facing app that you guys have was getting rave reviews from the employees. So this is way better than fill in the blank, right? And then they liked Run so much that they decided to go to the next level and go to Total Source. So now she just loves ADP. So I mean, our dedicated rep said, the best time to switch is today, because there's always that point of like, well, should I do it in the beginning of the year or when? Because you have that onboarding experience with ADP, it was just a seamless process. I mean, I can't say there wasn't any problems, right? Because there always is, but they're there to guide you along the way the whole time. And after the fact, once that first payroll run, they're there to help you run that payroll the first time, as well as, the subsequent weeks even after that. So it's not like they drop you off in the deep end of the pool and say, here, I hope it works out well for you. They're there the whole time. So let's go ahead and launch our, let's see, we've got the last, and then we had another one about using.
Yeah, why don't we go to so yeah, if you want to pop into this one.
Whoops, I launched the wrong poll question. Let's try that last one. All right, so wanted to talk a little bit. Go ahead, Michelle.
Well, I was going to say, somebody had a question about training. Do you all provide any training on payroll? Is that anything that you all do?
Absolutely. It depends on the partnership model, the level of training. But as Nick had mentioned, and, you're working with Caitlin, Dan, or Carrie is, Caitlin will be hands-on, and she can go out on site with either our firms or even meeting with the client face-to-face. And part of our onboarding experience is to do the first payrolls with the client. Typically, right, you get the first 2 payrolls correct, you give them white glove treatment, you don't have a lot of issues. You kind of work out the kinks on the very front end. So that's a big piece of it. And then obviously the training is a little bit more extensive if you choose to partner with us and use us on the wholesale side of things, where you're continuing to process payroll. We build a firm, but you're still the face for the client. We've actually got a certification, an Accountant Connect certification that you can utilize with 7 different modules to get yourself trained up.
Awesome.
Or once again, your sales associate can come out and work with you to make sure you're comfortable with it. You've got the service team to back you, but our products and solutions have been made to be very intuitive and very easy to use. So whether you're using the retail side or the wholesale side, they mirror each other quite a bit, and you have that same kind of user experience where it's very easy to navigate.
Awesome.
All right, so we are a few minutes over, but we did want to mention, that you're going to be at QuickBooks Connect, as well as hosting an event. So look for details about the ADP QuickBooks Connect event. You can always stop by and see them at the booth, which is only 6 weeks away.
Come see us.
So we will be there. ADP, we are a platinum sponsor at QuickBooks Connect this year. So we will have a nice booth with some really sweet surprises. So definitely come check us out. If the icons don't give it away, you'll figure it out soon enough. So hopefully some of you will see in Las Vegas at the ARIA. We're really looking forward to it. Just to wrap up, so if you are interested in learning more about working with ADP, you can always visit our website at adp.com/accountant. Go ahead and click that partner with us button at the top of the page and enter your contact info, and we'll connect you with your local ADP sales associates as soon as possible. So we appreciate you guys having us on as always. Thank you so much. This was awesome. We love working with you guys.
Well, we look forward to seeing you at QuickBooks Connect and having you on another webinar to talk some more about some HR benefits and some great things like that. Dan, thank you as always. Any other things to say?
No, it's great having you on. This was great with the first time ever of somebody just joining in from groundbreaking
work that we're doing. Yeah.
So much better than housekeeping knocking on your door, right? So much better.
This is interesting, but let's go with
it. That's right.
Fabulous as always.
Hope to see you all next time on the QuickBooks Power Hour, and I hope you have a great week.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the QB Power Hour podcast. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in our Facebook group. You can find those resources and much more at qbpowerhour.com.